What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now Plus. I'm Alex. In this video, I want to talk about some news you might have missed. We got 3 different stories, and I want to start with the Xbox Showcase. Obviously, this is on Sunday, getting extremely excited for it. And we got a couple new, parts to it. We already knew a bunch of it. I'd say the biggest thing is the no CG or just cinematic trailers, right? So anything that's going to be there, and this was Aaron Greenberg that said this, anything that's going to be there, it's got to have some part of gameplay, or some part of gameplay in general has to be in it. Jeff Keighley actually said this recently for Summer Game Fest as well, that's what he looks for with both that and the Game Awards. He really doesn't like to just do CG trailers because they kind of anger people. They don't really deliver to people as much as they used to. I agree, and I think that's a good thing. I think it's a good thing that people are kind of fed up, although they look great, right? CG trailers are awesome to look at, but they don't really paint a picture, at least most times, of what the base game is going to be. So that's good to hear from Xbox, right? And honestly, is that taking a shot at Sony? It is possible. Many of the Sony trailers that were at the showcase, and this is not a console wars thing, I'm just bringing this up because it did happen. There were several trailers that were just CG. I don't know if, again, it's to counter them because it's probably been planned for months and months and months, but that is a good sign that, everything we're going to see, you should see at least a little bit of in-game stuff for everything. And really the second main and really the only new, tidbit added is that it's going to be dropping that 12-month thing, which is good because honestly, I think if you look back at last year, and I think people have done the stats, definitely not every game that was on that list of, releasing in the next 12 months. I think maybe 75% of the games did that, but the other 25 or so percent did not. So they didn't even manage to do it, and again, it's fine. There's delays, things happen. It is good to say that out loud, right? That you're not basically constricting. You're not going to say, okay, every single game you see here, and here's a list of them all, we promise they're releasing by next June. When in reality, that's just not going to happen. There's going to be some that aren't going to make it. So that also opens up the door to show some really far out games. Now, there's a pro and con there too, right? Because you can show a game that's 3 years away, 4 years away, and I mean, they could have already done that with Fable and Everwild, right, several years ago, even a State of Decay 3. So there is negatives there where you show a game too far out, and then you don't see it again for 2-3 years. That's just as annoying, but I guess you kind of have to pick your lane, and so they're picking this lane. The second news story, I want to talk about those Amnesia review scores, just very briefly. Game comes out tomorrow. Xbox did a thing a week ago where they announced the games coming to Game Pass in the month of June, and this is actually one of them. So I think maybe 2-3 weeks ago, we didn't even know that, and now obviously things have changed. So if you have Game Pass, this game, you can download it for free, which is great because that's honestly what I'm going to do with it. It's got a 78 based off 35 critic scores. That's a pretty solid score. As I always say, make your own opinions of this thing. Watch some gameplay, see what you think and decide for yourself. There's some 8s that talk very highly about it. There's a 5 that talks pretty mixed, but obviously as you get higher up in the scores, there's more positives to say. Seems like they kind of nailed it. There sounds like there's some annoyances, in the game, some things that maybe aren't perfect, but overall they did capture it. They made another really solid Amnesia game. They're pretty good with Amnesia games. I think they're pretty good just in general. They've had some misses, but Soma, I think, is a great game. The first Amnesia, The Dark Descent, is a fantastic game. So I'll be trying it. It sounds like it's about 5 to 7 hours long, so this is not a long game whatsoever. It honestly kind of feels good for Game Pass. Just play it for free, sink it one night into it. Maybe you can beat it in one night and call it a day. I think that's okay. And then the final story I want to talk about is actually the RoboCop Preview. Now, I don't know if there were more than one done. I only watched the IGN one. There was a lot of info taken from the IGN one. 20 to 30 hours long the game is. It's got multiple endings, kind of the abilities or upgrades of the game. All this, juicy info. I think that all came from IGN. I watched their preview. It's about 10 minutes long, and it's what you're seeing right now with the gameplay. Game looks pretty solid. Now, it's important to remember that this studio, this team that's making this game, is not all that renowned. They've made some pretty mediocre, iffy kind of games in the past. This clearly is them going for it, right? This, and although you may say, well, Alex, this doesn't look like a high-end AAA game, well, that's because it's not, right? And that's something I think people probably need to go into this game knowing, not accepting mediocrity, but just knowing, okay, well, there's limitations and the budget and all this stuff and talent levels, right? This game is probably not going to be a perfect game or a high-end AAA game. It does seem to be replicating the feel of RoboCop, and even like the gunplay, the actual gameplay just in of itself, even the dialogue, some of it's pretty darn cheesy, but yet again, you can think of RoboCop the movie, right? I think it looks pretty good. This is definitely one that I'm going to be keeping my eye on, and I don't think there's a release date or anything on it, but I will definitely give it a look, at least when we get closer to the game releasing. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure you're subscribed, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.